Poštovani gosti, dobrodošli.
Dear guests, welcome to the second day of the 6th International Fair of Fruit and Vegetable Growing, Agro Belgrade 2025. We will continue discussing interesting topics from the area of agriculture. First panel discussion, which will open this, deals with digitalization in agriculture. Our facilitator is Marija Ćeklić from the B92 television. The panelists, participants is Milan Banić from the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, University of Niš, Ličanin, founder of FarmBooker, and PG Kovačević company. As you can hear, we have a very interesting panelists from different areas, but also in a way connected to digitalization of in agriculture. A few years ago, it was just like a scientific fiction, especially in the area of agriculture. But today, we are living this future. What smart agriculture and what digitalization mean? What can be changed? What are the benefits? What are obstacles to introduction of smart and digitalized agriculture? To what extent the robots can help us? So these are the topics we will discuss, and we will try to provide answer to some of the questions. I will introduce my panelist guest, Mr. Vladimir Ličanin, who is a farmer and also a founder of FarmBooker, which is actually a software, a kind of software that can do many jobs instead of farmers and give a precise costs calculation. Then Mr. Alvirović is representative of Agro Dron team used in precise agriculture. We usually think that drones are used for mapping of cultivated areas, but now they help us in spreading the seeds. So we have another representative of farmers from Kovačević farm, and Mr. Kovačević said that their hobby is agriculture, but believe me or not, they cultivate over 200 hectares of land. So how it would look like if it is not hobby. They also use many advantages of so-called precise agriculture. They are just on the way how to develop and implement the precise digitalized agriculture. And another guest is Mr. Banić from the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, who's been from Niš, who's been involved in this innovation story for 15 years, helping small and middle-sized companies to implement many innovations in practice. So we will talk with him about the robotization, to what extent it is profitable and present even in our country and worldwide. I think that we should start with this story. Mr. Ličanin, I would like to ask you about the advantages of the application of digitalized agriculture. Good afternoon, thank you for invitation. The advantages are huge, there is no doubt about that. So everybody knows that advantages are huge, and they do exist, speaking about digitalized agriculture. But before I tell you something more, I will give you at the beginning an example of a huge technological giants which were very successful, but they failed. It's an example of Nokia and smart Apple and Android phones. They said that they don't want to change, they're already doing very well. So this is typical the way of thinking of Serbian farmers. They think they are doing fine. There is no need for any improvement, but this is wrong. So we have to change their way of thinking, and they will see that this is not future, this is our present. Many digitalized tools have been already used worldwide. We have to cope with it, and we have to keep pace with time to also save inputs to increase growth, crops, and profits. With variable applications, we can precisely calculate the quantity of nitrogen needed for the soil. We can also do many savings in fertilizing agents or, for example, in pesticides for weeds. When you install some cameras and sprinkles, and then you make lots of savings in the quantity of pesticides if you target specific places. So these are only some of the tools, not to mention navigation. These are the most important benefits, and I would also like to mention my first idea when I started using this application is time saving. How to save times and have more times for analysis for some other things. I do hope that Mr. Alvirović would agree with many of these items. So the use of drones in agriculture, they are also used for time saving, for precise implementation of protection appliances, so the drones can replace men. What are the concrete advantages of the application of drones in the agriculture? They can be used in many different ways. What is the most attractive right now is treatment of seeds and crops, but the first function was to quickly and efficiently in each phase of growing of the plants give us precise information of the conditions, to measure precisely the metabolism of our crops, and to know the right moment for certain agricultural works of treatment. So, out of this very precise management of agricultural lands, we now can use drones to apply protective appliances, fertilizers, some liquids, solid materials, adapted to this mapping or mapped scenario. So we can have two huge benefits: to do the treatment exactly when these chemical appliances will give the best results. For example, after the rain or after the sunshine, this is the best time, or before the rain, etc., etc. So we will know exactly, thanks to drones, to calculate when to use these protection treatments. Therefore, we save times, chemicals, and we do not harm plants and crops during the treatments. For example, some seed soys experienced most benefits are like the classical mechanization that could harm these crops. So drone is a fantastic tool if you understand the best time when to use it. So the story about digitalization and robotization of agriculture is very attractive because these technology appliances and innovations give fantastic results, which has been proven many times, and we saw that it can function very well, establishing very good margins for return investments. Okay, Professor Banić, I would like to ask you, it seems to us that robotization is something most attractive. What is the advantage of using robots in agriculture? The first advantage is the saving of labor, resolving the problems of physical labors. Many panels in digitalization of in agriculture started, which I participated in, started with a sentence in 50 years we will have 10 billion people on the earth, and then construction waste is the largest waste, which is very bad. For example, for production of 1 kilo of steak, we need 20,000 liters of water, for example, and if we have to improve efficiency and produce more foods, we have aging nations. We lost about 10% of farms, especially in the southern area of Serbia. And according to some estimations, up to 2050, Serbia will lose 3,500 villages. So who will produce the food? Even now, all over the world, we have a chronic lack of labor, and robots can resolve that problem. So I think that's a burning issue worldwide, and that's why the robots are very interesting. There are a lot of advantages of digitalization in agriculture, but the most acute or the burning issue is the lack of labor. But in order to raise efficiency, we also have to have machines ready to work round the clock, 24 hours a day. People cannot do that, but robots can do that. So they are more and more expensive, not only robots, but even classical machines. So if we do not reduce some costs, we will have lots of problems to reach the aims we have established in the food production. We will also talk about the investment in digitalization. Mr. Kovačević, I left you to give you the floor as the last participant because you are the best person to tell us to what extent it is visible in practice. What have you noticed as advantages of digitalized agriculture in practice? First of all, I have to say that there is no doubt that the results are obvious, are evident. Agriculture is my hobby, as you mentioned. That's what I like to stress, that today's farmer, for example, can more easly do their job unlike our ancestors. For example, my family celebrated 100-year anniversary of farming in Banić, where my grandfather spent more time in farming, much more than I need for agricultural works today, or not even to mention my children in the future. So we have managed to enable today's farmers to reduce the time spent in farm to the minimum. It's not the hard labor anymore. Now we need more time to process information received received from technological appliances from our households and farms. So our goal is to educate our farmers to be able to process this information and data and to apply them in adequate way. I started from a conclusion, from the end, because I thought it would be important to underline that at the very beginning, what is the most important. And you all agree that it's optimization of costs, time savings. And can you tell us or give us some concrete examples how we save costs by means of digitalized agriculture? I partly answered your questions. We can do savings through fertilizers using these maps, precise maps, variable maps, but they are not cheap. If we talk about average farmer, they cannot buy this technology, and that's the beginning of the problem. Can he do soil analysis? How he can do it? Does he use the optimum quantity of fertilizers, or there are a lot of wastes, a lot of wasting of fertilizers? For the beginning, I have to also say how many percentages of farmers in Serbia do analysis of their soils and their farms in terms of fertilizing. Or do they unite some small-sized farmers in order to use these appliances and technological innovations? Another option is to use some state subsidies, either from the EU or the state, how to make them make these tools and applications more accessible to them. Another thing is what I already mentioned. We have to optimize other costs as much as possible, not only pesticides and chemicals, and to use them more precisely, as my colleague said, to precisely use them at specific moments, exactly when we need them, in order not to repeat some treatments. If it is done in a good way, there is no need for repeated treatments. Optimization, cost optimization, there is no doubt, can also lead to optimization of costs, of reducing inputs to achieving the maximum crops. So thanks to the drone images, we can see the number of plants on the farm. Then, if we see that something is wrong, we should know exactly where the problem is. We can draw valuable conclusions to see where the problem started, what our mistakes are, and through this smaller monitoring, thanks to the drone, we can do optimization. Mr. Kovačević, do you agree with your colleague? Yes, 100%. And I would like only to add that we live, at least that's my opinion, we are now living in a time which is completely different. When I was a kid, I had an opportunity to travel. I went to the States and saw some innovations on the farms, and I was just imagining when these things will come to our country. And now I'm living this time. Now many things have been digitalized. We have representatives of some foreign companies here in Serbia. We have faculties developing these new technologies even here in our country. What we need now, this is my problem right now, for example, is that we have everything, but we need a good organization and the possibility to use this technology. to apply it, which includes networking of young farmers. We have to communicate among each others, to network, to unite, and to use the services from agricultural institutions and experts. We have to educate ourselves. That's my vision, how to resolve this current problem, how to apply the precise technology in agriculture. I would add only one example in which you don't need any expensive machine. What one of our beneficiaries has noticed, he said that he used certain quantities of fertilizers, and he saw in a storage area that 7 tons were left behind. When we did some calculations, we realized that he doesn't use 70 kilos, he uses less, or he didn't apply fertilizers on the same land. And what was the conclusion? Well, we know exactly why he has such a quantity of fertilizers left behind. We will know that when we compare the maps from the drone and other data and other inputs. What is concretely you use on your farm, speaking about digitalized agriculture? We know that we use this FarmBooker software. Do you use drone or robots?
Ja pričam tu priču, to je na primjer da
I like to tell stories that our ancestors and our grandfathers had farms and lots. My grandfather used to tell me that in this part there is a harder soil, be more careful, etc., etc. Today we have the opportunity to see these things and the quality of soils from drones. It took me some time to convince the older farmers that this is the future, or average farmers between 55 and 60 years of age. So when I first used drone, when I had an opportunity to see my farm from above, and I could see each part of this land of soil, because it's impossible to see, to get the full picture from the ground. And then I immediately saw the advantages of drones and its images, and I immediately realized it's our future. Speaking about navigation, I also use it, and it opened up my eyes when I realized that I can work even during the foggy weather, at night time, etc. You also, Mr. Alvirović, mentioned that in 1 year you can get you can return the money from investments in drone. This sounds too optimistic for somebody to believe this, but this what I mentioned was the use of drones in farming in the area up to 60 hectares, when this drone, the basic model, adequate to this surface, is used only 5 days per year for 5 treatments that cannot be treated by classic mechanization. And after these treatments, using drones, bearing in mind all inputs, labors, etc., water, our colleagues, economists, and farmers calculated that the investments can be returned in 13 months. And based on the real-time data from our fields, not only theoretical data, we could see that it's very profitable. This is just one part of economic factors. We have a very good and healthy or solid savings Thanks to robots or drones, we can resolve problems. So how to protect your health, of your family, neighbors, and in long term you protect our environment for our future generations. So the adequate and precise application of pesticides is a great, huge savings, not only in terms of money, but in terms of environmental protection and many other things. And also it gives an opportunity to young generation to be involved in agricultural work and do a living in the land of their ancestors.
I believe that the return on investment is not so quick. According to our calculation in the south of Serbia, because we are located there and we have the largest number of data, so the robot can save 80 to 100 euros. So it's in a shift. So about 20 liters of diesel fuel you can save, and you do not have a tractor driver with a gross amount of salary. So it is 80 to 120 euros. In Vojvodina it is even more because the salaries of tractor drivers are bigger if you manage to find such a person. Now we have navigations which partially resolve that autonomy, but you have to transport the fuel to that autonomous unit. It is not a simple logistics operation to drag a certain amount of fuel to the field, and robots are in principle lighter than the traditional machines, and they are there's advantage compared to the traditional devices, but the land robots make less pressure on the soil than traditional machines. So when the traditional tractor could not go through the field, we moved with the minimum traces, which is necessary for regenerative agriculture. I forgot to mention before that there are so many young people in the audience, and we also see young farmers and growers here as panelists. But in the past, we could not have someone who would speak about the success in digitization. If we speak about the cost of the labor, and you have the expenses over the year, and you have to invest in installments in a way. If you have to invest in robots, what about the starting investment? How to get the funds, which are not small, in order to robotize the agriculture? So the return on investment period is very simple. Okay, for example, if one shift is 100 euros, if you engage robot in 3 shifts, you save 300 euros. But how to buy that robot? Okay, 300 euros to use it for 100 of days per year, you saved 30,000 of euros, which means that the investment even without subsidies, is payable within the period of 3 years. If you take about subsidies, which exist for the entire mechanical devices, including robots, so in a period of a year you can pay off these expenses. So there's no economic activity that you'll get the return on investment within 1 year. And here we touched upon the skeptical views on this, but over the time it will change when people see that their neighbors have something like that. In the past it was the harvest machine, harvester. Now when someone from your neighborhood sees that you're using drones, and then will test and check on the benefits, and they will invest also into that. So drones are great. So let's say about UVC sterilization. It is something that's very popular in the world, because particularly in the fruit products, you do not use pesticides. You simply use the robots or the drones for destruction of the molds, particularly after humidity period. We see radiation is quite harmful for people and can be performed only by devices that do not include human work. Mr. Alvirović, do you agree with that? And how can we find the money to invest at the very start? I don't think that money is a problem at all, particularly because these investments are cheaper than buying an ordinary car. Okay, how do we measure the investment? I think 2 years ago, the farmers had 120 liters of rain every day in Ćeklić. So they had a problem to grow vegetables. So the damage is not only a couple of tons of crops, but they cannot supply the clients. So tell me how much their investment will be returned. So their problem was the knowledge. You learn about the new technology, you used only tractors, now you have to face something and to invest time, and the time in their work is a critical resource, not money, but the time. So it's most difficult for them to take time and to learn something new and change their habits. So the improvement and changing of the habits is the major investment. How much do you work on education and on this? And I believe that your participation at this panel is part of that. So I and my colleagues who work in the unmanned aerial vehicle area are interested in this. Very often we meet at similar events and we try to make this information accessible to farmers, and if a farmer decides to do something about it, they need to have good information. And when it comes to the quality of education, I think that we do not are lagging behind the world. We are even advancing this in this field. So we are available for everyone who's interested. So our mission is that young generation is motivated to invest their time, and this is also an appeal to the older people to give the opportunity to young. And one farmer, Aleksandar Basić, was one of our examples. We helped him and his family to save their work. So they were forced by the consequences to start using the robotics. So Professor mentioned IPARD. You had a very strange reaction, and I want to ask you, do you accept this type of subsidies, and what can be changed? If we speak about the support and legal regulation, whether the legal regulations follow such technical solutions. Can you repeat the questions? Is IPARD a solution for a farmer or not, or something else a solution? When you ask about the way to purchase that mechanics. If you have less than 50 hectares, you apply for the state subsidies, and if you have more than 50 hectares, then you apply for IPAD funds. You cannot get the entire return on investment with one machine, but if you, for example, if you apply for IPAD funds and you hear that 450 people applied and only 45 of them will get the funds, so that's the key problem. So the young people who are ready to be digitized and to move to the digital tools, they have a problem for this type of subsidies, and such people have to calculate whether it is payable and when the return on investment will occur. So the question is whether a farmer with 20 hectares can use such tools. So can he do that? Is digital agriculture only meant for the big ones, or on the contrary, to everyone? I think that it will change over time, and I think that autopilot used to be about 20,000 euros. Now you can pay it for 4,000 to 5,000 euros. I think that these new, more precise agriculture tools will be present more in the market, and some less expensive and better quality units could be found in the market. So a farmer owning 20 hectares on average can start with, for example, precise softwares or navigations to use to monitor the level of humidity and some other parameters. And maybe the solution could be to work on the networking of young farmers. For example, in a village, several of them can join and use the drone for treating the soil, hundreds of hectares of soil. So we can discuss this topic, but there could be a solution that is realistic. I would agree that a major issue is that the farmers are older and they are a little bit tired because of everything they had to go through, and the solution is to leave it to younger people to make certain mistakes, which is not a problem. We can recover. So what's the problem that you faced, and what was the support of the state to you? Let me just refer to what Vladimir talked about. Any change is difficult to be accepted by people, particularly when the different generations are taken into consideration. So we younger ones, we know less than the older generation, and then we are more courageous. But we should not neglect the older generation because we can learn a lot of them. We need to create a team, and at such events, presentations, we can introduce these topics to the old generation, and they can also be part in the improvement of our households. When it comes to the investment and the support of the state, I think that there is the support of the state, and that's the fact. But what I always stress as the key one is the a long-term plan. Every investment needs to be planned for a longer period of time, and all these public calls and all that support by the state should be for a longer period of time, at a minimum 5-year period, even longer, 10 or 15 years, certain adjustments in the future. But it's important for us to know that we have loyal partners for a longer period of time. When it comes specifically to my family household, I applied at every public call in the Republic of Serbia. First, I came to the office of my father and asked him whether he saw the state subsidies for the farmers, and he said I didn't have time for that, and but he offered his support. Luckily, he offered me his financial support, and then we started and improved our household in such a way. In parallel, we performed another thing. Why we were successful? Because of industrialization. My grandfather went to the city and started working in industry. We did not stop working in the farm. Now we have a new age of digitization, and then we decided to invest into digitization, and so that my father, I, and my neighbor, and that's the best way of running the household, in my opinion. So we managed to improve our household by working together. So, Mr. Banić, when we take all these things into consideration, what can we say about our position at the moment when it comes to the use of digitization, the use of robots, and compared to the world? Luckily, we are the same place where the rest of the world is. Maybe Netherlands, a little bit Spain are a little bit ahead of us. But I will get back to certain misconceptions, in my opinion. So digitization, robotization isn't for the big ones, but for the small ones. So when we speak about the vineyard of 20 hectares, it's not a small wine producer because he produces 100 or 250,000 liters yearly. If we have the expansion of the winemakers, which means that up to 580 of them exist. So we need money for growing this business, and for not only for growing grapes, but also investment into mechanical equipment. In my opinion, generally, is the time we who deal with this just did not find a way how to explain to them, to the older generation, that they do not need, that is not so complicated. Even my child, who is at the 5th grade, can do that, because the planning of the mission of the Dron is reduced to the level that you need 30 minutes with YouTube tutorial to learn it. There's another misconception that the agricultural farmers are illiterate, digitally illiterate, but it's not true. Many of them use podcasts, YouTube channels, various forums, and educate themselves. But in fact, for some reason, they are still afraid of the new technologies. And it happens also in the developed world. At the Agritechnic fair in Hanover, the average German farmer still thinks about the John Deere of 700 to 800 of horsepower. It's still in his focus, because they do not see this as something that is applicable for them. On the other side, this is our chance to keep up with the good work and to put our effort to digitalize this field with the help of the state, and to become more competitive. Even if we do not do that, these 550 wineries would not exist. What else is happening in the world? This morning I read an article, for example, John Deere player, the large producer, which was explicitly mentioned, hinders the digitization and robotization. Why? Because they invested a lot of money into new cabin, better system of air conditioning, the system of tractors. So it's not good that they undermine the robots market, which do not need any ventilation or air conditioning and radios, etc. systems. It's not true that only farmers are skeptical. A little bit the industry wants to generate an extra profit on the products that they produce. So let's ask the farmers, are you skeptical, and how much are you ready to invest into the digital solutions? Well, the farmers are more and more ready. So we have some examples. Until they they see and the explanation and demonstration of that technology, they are not ready. But when they see what are the benefits, and when they see that it is very simple, that they can learn everything in half an hour, and the system is such that solution is very good, and when they see the benefits, and then its situation is different. I would agree, because I've heard many places that digitization is not at such a high level in agriculture, and that the farmers are not ready to accept those tools. But in Serbia, there are many of them, but there are also many who are ready and even started this transition, and we are on a daily basis in contact with them. Yeah, mainly they are people under 40 years of age, but there are some older ones. Mr. Alvirović, what do your customers say? Are they happy? Do they want to invest more? And how do you see the future of digitization? I do not have any dilemma that it is a set of tools that we are going to use intensively, and even to discover some new applications. Users are really satisfied, and we have given you the examples from their daily work. I haven't found any customer who was disappointed with this. Those who found time to work on that, they see a better benefit. So digitization is used. For example, when we come to the precise agriculture, it's a psychological challenge with the users. Our machines are not only precise, but they require from us to understand this in a precise way. So the lunch cannot be made without a chef. So this is a challenge before the experts. We have the top-notch tools, but knowledge how to apply this perfect tools is a challenge. So we have a constant challenge to advance and improve our habits. So more or less, they can enjoy using it. So how did you use both the traditional and the new knowledge? I'm going to use the way the gentleman explained this, the well-known company Kodak, which is a John Deere in our case, was a leader in photography. If you remember those photos and films, they, for example, did not want to include digitization, and digitization defeated them. And I think that the same would happen in agriculture. My grandfather really loved horses, and he really adored them, and there are a lot of stories about that. But during his lifetime, he also decided to accept tractors. The same goes for me. I realized that the technology is developing and that the world is going on, and accepted digitization. So I accepted to digitize our household. Professor Banić, what was your reason to deal with robotization in agriculture? And I forgot to mention for the audience, you are the creator of Agro solution. Please explain that to us. And what were your motive? What was your motivation? So motivation was that there is the market benefit not only for the customers but also for us. I think that if our country do not have the producers of digital solutions, our agricultural world will disappear. Why? For example, a robot or a farm software of a foreign designer is 3 to 5 times more expensive than solutions in Serbia, although they are not much better than ours. So, but if we do not have a solution in Serbia that our user can use it, then we will be forced to buy the robots at the price of €500,000, which for our plots of land would be a big cost. So for a farmer with 20 hectares of vineyard, it would be too expensive. So robotization went to a wrong direction. So they started creating robots for only one operation, for I don't know, cultivation of land and other things, and for it is good for someone who has 500 to 600 hectares, but it's not worth for smaller plots of land, not even for the cooperatives. And we've noticed our market trends there. And not to be modest, it's a noble mission, and all of us are trying to make Serbian agriculture competitive. And you ask me what state can do. Well, state only can organize the demonstration of such solutions. It would make our farmers more trustful of what this can do in practice. Why can't we do that in practice as producers? Because it is very expensive for us to present all these operations. It is sufficient for the state to raise the awareness of public about that. For example, if the farmers believe more in the foreigners' solutions, they can buy them. But in order to sustain our agriculture, it's inevitable for it to be digitization. What is Agro? Agro is a tractor robot. It's a popular Ferguson 539. It is the same as Ferguson. It is as tractor of 30 to 50 horsepower, and it can perform all operations as currently such tractor can do. It has a system of cleaning up 3 points. It's not only that it drags the sprayer, but it is based on the robot operating system, which is a standard in the world de facto. And anything that has been developed worldwide for the precise spraying of fertilizers, for cutting, and is based on this robotic operation system, and it can be connected to our robot. And we additionally have the impact on the payability. It is more payable if I close the entire production cycle. So instead of 100, I use the robot for 160 days. And it is more attractive for all because the costs are reducing the entire cycle. And what I forgot to mention, robotization makes the planning system more easier. So a farmer knows how much the harvesting will cost him in 3, 5, or 10 years. A farmer does not think about, for example, engaging some labor force from abroad, Bangladesh or some other countries. So, and there's no inflation. The difference in the power price is very small. It cannot be changed. So they have a stability of long-term planning, which is very important, as we already heard from someone who deals with that. And we all reached the end. So I would like, before we close this panel, to give the floor to you as panelists. Maybe someone from the audience will have the question. But when you give us your conclusions, tell us what's the future of the digitalization in agriculture. I think it's on the right pathway, and I think that people do not know how many good solutions there are in the market, but it is a matter of time when such solutions would become available to all of us, even in the financial sense. And I think that we're going to a good direction, and in a couple of years, Serbia will be at a good level when it comes to digitalization and the use of robotics. A lot of things remain to be done, and I absolutely agree that they can help us, to all of us who produce various tools, because we invest in production in order to create the better machine. So that's the way to help the state and to help the farmers to acquire those machines. Mr. Alvirović, as a conclusion, I can say we have a great chance in digitalization to become fully equal to the international players. If we miss this opportunity, it will cost us a lot, because we will have the problem where to sell our products. Well, it depends on the farmers to recognize what tools are required to become more efficient, and I don't think that investment is the hindrance. All of us can find some kind of calculation. So if we miss this, particularly in production, we will have the problem to remain competitive and to sell our products, because the cost benefit and the efficiency of automizers, drones, will not be achieved. So it's not, so this, if someone do not recognize this as his chance, I don't know how we will work in the future. Mr. Kovačević, we would like to hear your message, how your colleagues can recognize the first tools to use. I know that that it is necessary for them for the start. I will try to answer this question. So how do I see the future? I see the future in digitalization, and we are going to a right direction. Today we have as panelists Vlada and Professor, people who gave great examples that we have to follow. So the young people have to be engaged, and that the directors of companies have also been involved, as Mr. Alvirović's company. So you have to explain and present that technology to us and collaborate with us. We have many representatives of foreign companies, and they are just waiting and for us to force them to sell these products to us. And there's also a good example that Professor is showing, and it is that our knowledge is invested into the digitalization market. I would like to hear your message for your colleagues. And my message is that they are not to be afraid. So when I say that I want to deal with precise agriculture, and they say, yeah, it's complicated, it's expensive. And as the professor explained, so there are, of course, some less expensive solutions which can be adjusted to our market. And the message to the young generation is to join us, to find solutions, and to participate in creating something very useful for our agriculture. Professor, what would be your conclusion? My appeal would be a little bit different. Let me give you an example. I think that the DJI in 2010 did not exist. So the first commercial model of a drone ever was presented in 2013. We use some other radio-controlled vehicles. Let's say the drone is less than 10 years among us, and you can see how far we've came. So DJI is the largest company worldwide, and I invite young people to think about their own production. I'm not a farmer, and I think that young people, young farmers, know much better what the problems they face, and their problems are not only theirs, they are the problems shared with the entire world. So this is the unique period of time for creating new DJIs, new John Deeres, and companies that offer some innovative solutions have the chance to become a globally dominant companies. That is why I appeal young people not to think only about the application of digitization. Think a bit as entrepreneurs. What is there that you can do that using your youthful strength, your knowledge? Think about the solution that will resolve not only your problems, but the problems of others, and to start up a respectable company. Thank you, panelists. And before we wrap up, I would like to hear the audience if you have any questions for the panelists. It seems as if all questions have been asked and all clarifications are provided to them. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you from the audience being with us. I hope that we answered all the questions, but we also raised some new issues. And the marketing would be the next panel's topic. And the presentation of the solutions would be the right place for the state to provide help. I invite you to remain here because we are going to hear the masterclass by MSC, that's a shipping company, and the presentation will be delivered by Mrs. Lukic, Mr. Goran Popović, and Mrs.